Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. In this segment, we're focusing on independent schools on Cape Cod. There's been a lot of talk in recent years about competition for students on the Cape, and we wanted to get the viewpoint from the independent schools. I'm here in the studio with Suzanne Lawson, Assistant Head of School and Director of Admissions at Bridgeview Montessori School in Bourne, Peg Haskell, the Director of Development at Trinity Christian Academy in Hyannis, and Amy Galvam, Enrollment Director at the Waldorf School of Cape Cod in Cotuit. Welcome to all of you to the show.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
So let's start with saying who the members are of the Greater Cape Cod Collaborative of Independent Schools.
Well, right now we have Cape Cod Academy, Falmouth Academy, Bridgeview Montessori, Waldorf School, Friends Academy, and Trinity Christian Academy of Cape Cod.
And all of you are participating in something called National School Choice Week on Wednesday, January 28th at the Bourne Community Center. Now, tell me what this National School Choice Week is all about and what this event will be all about.
So, Peg was good enough to bring a little cheat sheet, but participants in National School Choice believe that parents should be empowered to choose the best educational environments for their children. Supporters plan events that highlight a variety of school choice options, from traditional public schools to public charter schools, magnet schools, private schools, online learning, and homeschooling. I think this organization, our group, was excited about National School Choice Week because we want to educate people on the Cape to the idea of independent schools. It's somewhat of a novel idea, if you will, compared to communities like Boston, where independent school choice is a big deal. And we have a lot of really interesting and diverse choices, and we thought it was important to work together to spread the good word about that. So that's why we came together to do an event during National School Choice Week.
And actually, let's back up a little bit and talk about how this organization, the Greater Cape Cod Collaborative of Independent Schools, got started, and where did this all come from?
Well, a woman at Bridgeview Montessori School who had worked in independent schools about 12 years ago started this group, and then it disbanded. And I think it was the folks over at Cape Cod Academy who wanted to start it up again last year. So they emailed all of us, and there are more of us that they emailed, more of us that we're currently trying to bring to the group. But the groups that are participating in these upcoming events have really sort of taken charge of the group and taken some initiative to work together to educate folks on the Cape about the Greater Cape Cod area about independent school choice. So newly created a year and a half ago, but an old idea.
And we were talking a little bit before the show about who is in the group in terms of charter schools and how that fits in and what are the sort of criteria for being in the group. How does that all work?
We are all independent schools that are not affiliated, religiously affiliated with a diocese, so parochial schools are not part of this particular group. We all have independent philosophies. We're not public schools and we're not charter schools. And so we're sort of an other. But we share many processes in common and policies in common as far as enrollment and the kind of students that are attracted to us for various reasons. And so we collaborate and support each other in the work that we do.
Now, what kind of students are attracted to this type of school? Peg?
To Trinity Christian Academy.
To yours in particular?
If you're a family that's looking for a faith-based education, you're going to check out Trinity Christian Academy of Cape Cod.
And then what about for the Bridgeview Montessori, Suzanne?
I think at Bridgeview, I think parents are looking for something different than perhaps their town local school has to offer. I think they're looking for nurturing. I think they're looking for a real investment in the individual child. I think all of us would agree that we're small, and we think small is better. And so when people come to Bridgeview, they're looking for small. Perhaps their child hasn't been well served in their town school, so they're trying to find something different. They know in their heart of hearts that there's something different and better for their child, so they'll come and look at Bridgeview Montessori, and I suspect these other schools because of that.
And the Waldorf? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. At a Waldorf school, we have a strong developmentally based education curriculum and philosophy. Again, just similarly to Bridgeview, we are a small school. People come for the methodology and the culture of the school and the sense of community. You walk in and there's a feeling that stands apart from other places, and people are attracted to that. And we are a very internationally known methodology school. We're not that well known in the United States, and especially not on Cape Cod. We joke and call ourselves the best kept secret. But people, I think, generally choose independent schools because of the methodology or the culture of that school. A lot of them find us because they're dissatisfied where they are, their children are not happy, or they don't see them thriving in whatever scenario they're in, schooling setting that they're in. So they'll start to look, and then they learn more as they go through the admissions process. And there are things that look very similar, but usually they're substantially different once you start scratching the surface.
And, of course, Waldorf and Montessori have certain educational philosophies, and perhaps the Trinity Christian Academy, too, that might be different from what people would find at public schools. Speak to that a little bit. Anyone?
Well, at Bridgeview Montessori is very individualized. I think it's safe to say that every child has their own curriculum guided by a work plan. So if your child is a high flyer in math and just the sky's the limit, that child's going to be able to go that high. There's no standing in the way to say, well, you're in second grade. We don't do that in second grade. Or no, we don't learn cursive until third grade. If your child shows a natural interest, which Maria Montessori believed children did, our teachers are going to capitalize on that and move your child forward. We follow the child, and that's fundamental to Maria Montessori's beliefs. But there's so much more to it. But in a nutshell, I think that's a big piece of it.
How about Waldorf in a nutshell? And you talked a little bit about it in the last answer, but
Waldorf came out of the workings of Rudolf Steiner. It's based out of Rudolf Steiner's educational philosophy, and it is strongly developmental, as I said before. And what that means, it's not just a catchphrase. They have teachers look at the work of like Jean Piaget and current developmental psychologists as what's really the best thing to bring at the right time for a child. And so while there is a lot of latitude for children to bring their own gifts and what they're good at and be met in that way within the classroom, it is sort of a cohort approach as opposed to an individual approach. And so the children learn a lot about good citizenships. They learn how to work collaboratively as well as independently. It's really meeting the child. We talk about it bringing the right thing at the right time. It's sort of a catchphrase, but it really does make sense. And so even when we look at things like history, it's not done chronologically. It's done on a more developmental way. And so over the course of 8 years, and it's meant to be an 8-year arc from first grade to 8th grade, children will really get kind of a full presentation of a Waldorf model.
And how about Trinity Christian Academy? Do you have a sort of a philosophy or an overriding mission behind what you're doing?
Well, our mission is to educate and equip students to become future leaders for the glory of God. If you're looking for high academic standards, as well as extracurricular activities, as well as art, music, computers, library, science projects, all of that, then you would want to look into Trinity. And we are a pre-K through 12th grade program. We've had a number of graduates go on to universities and colleges and receive scholarships. So we're a little different than Montessori and Waldorf in that we do go all the way up to 12th grade.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're talking about independent schools on the Cape. Now, are there independent schools on the Cape that have chosen not to be a part of the collaborative?
I think when we sort of carpet bombed, if you will, the groups of independent schools, and it is the greater Cape area as well. So we do have Friends Academy out in Dartmouth who've joined forces with us. I think most everyone was very interested. It's just a busy time for all of us. So I know that some schools haven't totally participated in the projects we're trying to do simply because of time, but still want to get involved. And so we're hoping that the group expands. And like I said, Cape Cod Academy and Falmouth Academy who are participating, and Friends Academy who are participating next week in our event, couldn't be here today, but certainly have been active members of the group. And we have been trying to get new people involved.
Now, what are the special challenges for independent schools on the Cape in attracting students? Suzanne?
Well, people have the perception that it is expensive, and it is expensive. You're paying for school, and you can get it for free. down the street from your house. And so that's a big hurdle for us. However, every one of us have active and thriving financial aid budgets. We're trying to educate parents about the financial aid process, and that will be one of the topics that we continue to talk about and that I know we all talk about when we have inquiries. There is money available, and these are not loans. These are part of our financial aid budgets that help families who want to learn with us, because there's nothing better for any of us than getting a family who wants to learn with us. And if they earn need-based financial aid, we welcome them through our doors.
Now, one thing that's been interesting is public schools have seen their populations of students dip, particularly in recent years, and have turned to more aggressive marketing. And, of course, the independent schools have really always done more aggressive marketing. And so is there anything different in this new environment for your schools?
Well, I think it's just more competitive. And I think as independent schools, it's always been a struggle, because most independent schools, and especially those that I know of on the Cape, we're mostly tuition-driven, some endowments, but we're not wealthy operations. We're there really because we want to serve the children, and we have a mission to educate the children in the philosophies that we embrace. And so, while we do a lot of outside marketing, it's a difficult thing, which is one of the reasons why we collaborate, to support each other, and so that people do know that they do have a choice and that it isn't just an elitist endeavor, and that people who are the wealthy people in the world can afford the private schools. We're trying to debunk that a little bit so that people see that it is something that they could have a real, true choice about. And that one educational environment doesn't fit everybody. And, I would refer children to Bridgeview or to Trinity if I knew that was a better fit for them, because really it has to be a good fit so that those children thrive and it's successful for the family. So
now, some people say they see independent schools as sort of a drain on resources from public schools. How do you react to that kind of opinion from people?
Not at all. I don't think I agree with that statement at all. In fact, we've been able to work with some students that have come out of public schools. Public schools are very thankful for what we've been able to accomplish in the lives of the children, and it's been wonderful. So I think we complement each other. I don't think that we're necessarily competing.
Now, and you talked a little bit about this in an earlier question, Amy. I believe you were talking about the type of student who's at Waldorf. What would you say is the type of student, for instance, who's at Bridgeview Montessori? Is there a type?
I don't think there's a type. I think I might say that there might be a type of family, in that it's a family who knows that there's something better and who wants whatever the very best is for their child, and they're not going to settle and say, well, boy, she'll be fine at the school down the road. There are people who are saying it's not okay to just be fine for their child's education. And so I think that might categorize our families. In terms of the students, I think they want to be nurtured and they want to be the whole child, but I would say every child wants that. So they want to be celebrated. They want to be able to be comfortable in their own skin. They want to not feel pressure to wear certain clothes or do certain things. Kids at our school are comfortable in their own skin and confident, and that's probably what I love most about our kids.
And Peg, what about with Trinity Christian Academy?
Our population is very diverse. We have students from all kinds of backgrounds, as far as ethnic backgrounds, as far as church backgrounds. I think the one thing in common is that most of our families are seeking a faith-based education with high academic standards. So I think the families that seek us out really, they want the individualized attention as well, because if you can be in a small class setting, you're going to have a lot more attention. We have one class that has 4 students, but the maximum that we can have is 16 per class, and that really does make a difference. So I think the faith-based education, high academic standards, the thing that we hear a lot from families is that we have a very caring Christian community, and we're like one big happy family. Everybody is very connected and very supportive of one another. If one child succeeds, everybody, cheers them on and applauds.
And the thing you said that might surprise some people is you have students from many different religions there.
Families come from all different backgrounds. We do have a faith statement that the families sign just so they understand that their students will be taught a Christian perspective at Trinity.
And now just getting into, in the last couple of minutes, National School Choice Week again, explaining to people what it is, why there is a National School Choice Week, and some parents might not really know the reason for that. Suzanne?
I think it's important that parents know that they don't have to settle on the school down the street. I think that there are independent schools, parochial schools, charter schools that exist. And as you said, Laura, schools are fighting for your children. So we put together an event to sort of celebrate what we do as independent schools in the greater Cape Cod area. We're calling the event Education is an Investment, and you have school choice. So do your research. So we're having a Greater Cape Cod Independent School Night. And Amy, you can speak to when that is.
It'll be on January 28th from 5:30 to 7 at the Bourne Community Center, which is actually in Buzzards Bay. We'll have tables and teachers and staff on hand to answer questions and just to talk about the process in general of how to be part of an independent school and what your choices are. Not just individual comments about our schools, but
there will be a panel discussion, and there'll be a representative from each of the 6 schools, and we will discuss questions such as why choose independent schools, myths about independent schools, community and character of independent schools, how do independent schools differ from each other, questions to ask, determining the best fit for your child, the application process, how and when to begin, what is entailed, and an overview of the financial aid process and the payment plans.
And it sounds like the event is mostly for parents rather than for kids. Is that right?
Yes, it's definitely an adult event.
Well, I think that gives a nice overview. We've been talking about independent schools with Suzanne Lawson of Bridgeview Montessori School in Bourne, Peg Haskell of Trinity Christian Academy in Hyannis, and Amy Galvam of Waldorf School of Cape Cod in Cotuit. Thank you all so much for being here with me today.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.